Hello, good evening, Chuckadelphia. This is Chuck coming to you live from the command center. And tonight I wanted to give you a mini lesson on ways to use remind and remember and tell you that there is a difference between the two. So sit back, relax, grab a cold beverage, and come along with me for this ride. Here we go. Okay? So here is a sentence. Remember me to buy milk at the grocery store today. All right? Now, this is a common way that some students say remember, but this is not the correct way to use remember. Okay, this is where we would use a different word. Okay, so now let's take a look at that word that we should use here, and that word is remind. Okay, now remind is a verb and is very similar to remember, but it has a distinct difference. Okay, it is used with an object as a verb, okay, to cause a person to remember. So you see, remind helps us remember. Okay, it's not remember. It's a clue to help us remember, an idea that helps us remember, or some kind of tip, something, a person that helps us remember. Okay, and so we commonly use remind with a person followed by an infinitive. Okay, so you might see like remind me to stop for gas soon. Remind someone to stop for gas soon. Okay. Then in the second one, as you can see, remind is a regular verb. So we would say reminded with that ID sound at the end, okay, for the regular verbs that end with a D sound. I reminded my dad to buy tickets. Can you remind me not to go to that bar anymore? Okay. So this is how we would use remind most of the time. Okay. We definitely would not say, I remembered my dad to buy tickets. No way, Jose. No, not on my watch. That's not going to fly. Okay. So now, here are a few other things about remind. Okay. Sometimes we can use remind followed by a person and then a noun clause, right? So you could even say, your speech reminded me that we are very fortunate to have what we have. Okay. Sometimes you may hear people summarize like some kind of an essay or a book with this structure, okay? Stephen King's book reminds us that we have to be afraid of the dark, okay? Something very similar to that. And finally, the noun for remind is reminder, okay? And as we see here, post-it notes serve as great reminders for important information, okay? And this simply tells us that post-it notes can help us remember to do our things, the tasks that we have to do. Okay, so now we've talked about remind, and now let's transition into remember. Okay, so remember is commonly used with an object, and it has some simple meanings. Okay, the most common one is to bring to mind by an act or effort of memory. When you have to think of something and it helps you remember something like a name, a date, a job, a task, okay, some kind of a memory from your past, you can use remember. Okay, I remembered your name when I saw your friend next to you. Maybe I couldn't remember your name, but then I saw my friend Ted. And I remembered, oh yeah, Ted has a friend named Paul he's always talking about. So now I remembered your name. Okay, so I used that effort of memory to remember something. Okay, now you can also keep in the memory or have awareness of something, like remember your appointment with your lawyer tomorrow. So this is a way of telling you that you have a responsibility. So when we say remember your appointment, it's like saying don't forget. Okay, remember that you have to clean the kitchen tomorrow. Okay, be aware. Okay, keep in your memory that that's something you have to do. Okay, and sometimes you will see remember with an infinitive like here. Okay, I must remember to pay the electric bill tomorrow because if I don't, they're going to turn the electricity off. And I'm going to come home to a dark house and a hungry dog and several hungry cats. We can't have that, right? So remember with an infinitive means responsibility, something that has to be done. Okay, I must remember to put gas in the car tomorrow morning. Otherwise, I'll run out of gas on the road, and that's not going to be a pretty situation. Okay, did you remember to turn the lights off before you went to bed? That's a responsibility because we have to save the world with electricity, right? And save our electricity, right? So we can also use remember with a gerund, and that's simply a memory, okay? And I think back to December of the year 2000, and I remember flying to Ecuador for the first time. That's it. That was almost 20 years ago. It was an amazing experience, and I can't tell you how excited I was. And it led to my life there. It was really cool. One of the most amazing experiences of my life. But I remember that, and I'm focusing my mind on that idea, that concept. So I am remembering. Okay. So let's take a look at a few sentences and see if you know how to use these right. Okay. So if I say, my mom always blanks me to pick up lottery tickets. Should I say remembers me or reminds me? Remind, right? She causes me to remember. So therefore, it should be my mom always reminds me to pick up lottery tickets. Yeah, there you go. Okay. I will do my best to blank your birthday this year. Facebook usually has to blank me. Okay. So here, I don't have a person here, right? So that's a good indicator that we're not going to use remind. I'm not going to remind your birthday to do something. No. How can you remind a thing? You got to remind people, right? And then down here, now while you can remember people, I remember you. Do you remember me? That's a possibility. But will Facebook remember me? I mean, maybe with the password, it remembers my password, but will it remember me? No. Okay. I will do my best to remember your birthday this year. Facebook usually has to remind me. Remind me. Okay. And they will cause me to remember to tell you happy birthday. God bless that Facebook. Right? Okay. So let's take a look at a few more. All right. There are some good movies that always blank me of my childhood. Remember me? So those movies remember me? That's not possible. Movies won't remember people, but you can remember movies, right? And sometimes you need to be reminded of those movies. So here, that remind me of my childhood, right? Now, how about here? I blank pretending to be Luke Skywalker when I was younger, right? I remind pretending. You definitely know that you can't use remind with a gerund, right? Based on what I just told you. So here, you know that we should say, I remember pretending to be Luke Skywalker younger. It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Yeah. I'm young at heart. You always got to love being Luke Skywalker, pretending to be a Jedi Knight, right? So here are a couple of quotes, cool quotes that I would like you to keep in mind, okay? One with remember. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. That was from Martin Luther King, right? And then the other one is an anonymous speaker. It says, remind yourself that it's okay not to be perfect, okay? If you mess up, if you stutter, if you say the wrong thing, that's fine. Just learn from it, get back up, and use it as a tool to get better, right? Always remember that. Always keep that in mind. Remember. Okay, so that is our lesson for tonight. Thank you, as always, for watching. I truly appreciate it. Make sure you like my videos, subscribe to my Chuckadelphia YouTube channel, click on the notifications bell, spread the word to your friends and family that are involved in the ESL industry, either as teachers or students. Ask questions, give comments or examples for feedback. Let me know how I'm doing. If you have any questions whatsoever, you write them down in the box, and I would appreciate it, okay? A special thanks to Scott Cassidy, Justin Kiessling, and Jose Andres for allowing me to share their gift of photography with you special people. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is Chuck, checking in from Chuckadelphia, Team Infinite English Academy. As always, Carpe Diem, and a very special ciao ciao to you all. See you around.